It's you.
It's you.
Jonathan Bloom, right? Oh my goodness, I've been your biggest fan. You do the best.
You.
No, you really do. I'm so impressed by everything I see that you do. And you won tonight, Mission Critical. Is that it?
No, this is news feature light. This is the Fowl ball story.
Okay, okay. Tell me about that, please.
So this was a story, and I love stories like this. It came from a simple question: what happened to the birds that steal our food at the ballpark during the pandemic?
Right. What happens to, because I wonder about that all the time. I've had them nosedive in on my food when I'm sitting there at an A's game.
So during the pandemic, amazingly, they were not there. They went away. They were cardboard, I guess, plastic cutouts of seagulls, which, by the way, the conservationists are quick to tell me that the word is gulls because they don't all live at the sea. We actually have seagulls and bay gulls.
Seriously? There's two types?
Well, no, there's actually about 4 different types of birds. None of them are actually seagulls. There are California gulls and western gulls are the 2 that we focused on. The California gulls live on Alcatraz and the Farallon Islands. The western gulls live kind of in the bay.
How did you, what was your interest into researching this?
Well, okay, so when I first moved to the Bay Area, I got, as many of us do, I got free tickets to a ball game because the sales department had them.
Right,
and
exactly.
I went there with my coworker, and he says, now look, right around the time we sing Take Me Out to the Ball Game, these birds are going to circle. And sure enough.
Which is crazy.
It's crazy. They know when the game is going to end.
How is that?
Well, it turns out they have kind of an internal clock, and they get really confused when daylight saving time happens. So guess what? Now we've abolished the winter time change. We're not going to confuse the birds anymore. So it turns out there used to be a garbage dump near Candlestick Park, and the birds used to feed there. And then they would see these lights, and they would smell this food, and they'd be like, oh, maybe there's more high-value stuff over there. So when the Giants moved from Candlestick to what is now Oracle Park, the birds showed up the first game. These birds, as it turns out, have an incredibly long lifespan. There are birds alive today that used to eat at Candlestick. They can live up to 40 years.
What I'm curious about is, okay, you're talking about their lifespan, and they can figure out. We always look up at the 8th inning. We see them circling and circling. What happens to these birds if the Oakland A's, for example, are to move to Las Vegas? What do you think is going to happen?
That's a great question. Well, so it turns out these birds are creatures of habit. So they do something that works, and they keep doing it until it stops working. And so if the Oakland A's moved to Las Vegas, those birds would potentially find a restaurant that leaves its dumpster uncovered, and they would start having lunch there day after day after day. There was a bird, a western gull, which are the bigger ones, from Alcatraz, that used to go eat lunch in the Tenderloin at the same dumpster every single day.
So they're not going to get one of those specials on Southwest Airlines and head to Vegas?
Well, no, they actually do sometimes hitch rides. Sometimes they hitch rides on garbage trucks.
Really?
Sometimes they hitch rides on ferry boats. Yeah. There was one that used to ride.
Was this incredibly, amazing for you to learn all these different aspects of a bird? Really? You thought you were going to go out and talk about a bird, and that these birds come and do these nose dives into the stadium and take the food away after the game's over, and all of a sudden you're learning something different behind the scenes of a bird.
I really thought this was going to be a story about people, because there's a guy who worked for the Giants since the 1989 earthquake, and he has made it kind of his life's work to humanely keep the birds at bay, literally out in the bay.
So what has happened during COVID?
Well, so the birds, because they're creatures of habit, they found other places to forage. Some of them might have been eating more of their natural diet of seafood. But they have a long memory. And so when they start to see the lights and they start to hear the ballpark organ, they're like, oh, I know what that means. That means food. And it turns out they're more interested in human food during baseball season because that's also their nesting season. That's when they have little chicks hatching.
So did you ever imagine when you were encountering this particular brilliant story that you could possibly win an Emmy?
I really thought this was going to be a little fun story. I thought this was going to be we're going to go to a couple of baseball games, we're going to talk to a conservationist, and that was going to be it. I didn't think that this was going to be a story where I would go down a rabbit hole with full support of my managers, by the way, and get to go to game after game after game, and then kayak out to a little island. I did not think this was going to be that kind of story, and I certainly didn't think that I was going to get this.
What does this mean to you tonight?
To me, this speaks to the value of digital as a medium where we can take as long as we need to tell a story. This speaks to the value of the unexpected, being able to report a story in an open-ended fashion and follow it where it leads. It speaks to me about the value of a good central character, whether that central character is a person or whether it has feathers.
Well, what it speaks to me is that you're one great journalist, because I've been following you for many years, honestly, and I'm so happy for you. I'm very happy for you, and
Thank you.
Congratulations. And would you like to say anything else?
I obviously...
Thank everybody you want to.
I need to thank my family. As I said up there, the Seagulls are great parents, and my parents are great parents, too. And I need to thank my managers for, Sarah, Chris, Steph, Stacy, all the way from the top down, creating a culture where we can do an exploratory story like this, figure out in the middle of an interview, oh my goodness, there's more to the story, and follow it where it leads.
You just gave me goosebumps, because isn't Stacy a great leader?
Stacy is a phenomenal leader.
Fantastic.
I'm really lucky to work for her, and for all of the other managers that I work for. It is an incredible place to work.
And that they allow you the time to explain your story, because so many times you only get a minute or a minute 15 to explain that story, and you were allowed to do this in a series. So congratulations. I'm so happy for you.